Hey there, tacos. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in today for our midweek devotion here on this Wednesday. And actually, today we are going to be wrapping up the final of the 5 devotions that are in this Bible with the day number 5 of the final 15. So stick around and see what we have to close out what happened here in New Orleans of 2012 at the ELCA National Youth Gathering. So here we go! Like I said, friends, today's devotion is the final devotion in this study Bible that I got while I was on mission trip in New Orleans for the ELCA National Youth Gathering in 2012. And to give you a little bit of context, this message is going to stem from something that you might want to take away from something. So basically, this is preparing a group of people, like the 30,000 people that were in New Orleans at the time of the gathering, to go home. And it's preparing them with a message of, what do you do now? What are we going to do when we get home? And how can we react and use our faith in the things that we've learned? So without further ado, we'll get into it and then we'll kind of discuss what it means afterwards. So here we go. Go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Do you know what we really wanted to say at the end of worship service in the Superdome? Get the heck out of here! God did not intend for us to stay in the upper room like the disciples, held captive by fear that Jesus had abandoned them. Nor did God intend for us to remain on the mountaintop, basking in Jesus' glory. We were created to live in the midst of groaning creation. Disciples of Christ stand with each other in the midst of life's struggles. Disciples are companions on the journey of life that includes gain and loss, joy and sorrow, pain and healing, victory and failure. Not life that consists of only success and satisfaction, security and self-gratification. When you arrived in New Orleans, you were asked to listen to the divine whisper. What has God whispered to you this week? You were invited to be present to what God is up to in New Orleans and in our lives. How will you practice this kind of presence in the days and weeks to come? We invited you to hear God's call on your life and to get real about following Jesus. What if we quit playing the game of faith and actually lived this life of faith with every twist and turn? What does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus and to make the risk of following the one who died on the cross? How will you tell others about your encounter with Jesus this week? The world knows us by our actions. So that is the final devotion from this Bible. And like I said in the intro, that this is something that I, as an individual or someone who went to this gathering, would have been taking it on the final day of being in New Orleans after 5 days of service. And I think this can be applied to our life and our faith and our journey here at Tacos over the course of the entire pandemic and how we've been on this way of communicating. And how can we evaluate our relationship with Jesus from where we were then to where we are now, and how have we been better communicators with Jesus? For myself, I think that I've become much better in my prayer life. I am not a very good person when it comes to prayer. It's really hard for me. A lot of times I'm just thinking I'm not talking to anybody or no one's going to be listening. And I've really worked on myself over the course of the pandemic and how I can incorporate prayer in other ways other than just praying and things like that. I start to sing sometimes. I play my guitar. There are other ways that I know how to pray, and that has helped me. And so how this devotion ends with the words of, the world knows us by our actions. The world knows us by our actions in this time when people are in New Orleans to help a city that is hurting after devastation. And the world will know us by our actions right now and how we are living out our lives in a world that is so broken and in need of justice, in need of healing, in need of love, all of these things. So I wrote here in the little margins, when I went through this in preparation for this devotion, I wrote that faith isn't a going to church thing. Faith isn't about sitting in a pew on a Sunday, singing a hymn and walking away and just barely listening to the pastor. It's not about an interaction that happens just on Sunday. In some cases, it's not even safe enough to go to church on a Sunday. It's not safe enough for us to gather on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for tacos. So it's more than just something that you go to and you do. Faith isn't a going to church thing. It's a call to action. I love how this ends with, the world knows us by our actions. It doesn't say the world knows us by us going to church. The world knows us by how we use our faith in action and how we put our faith into movement and how we can push forward the love and grace of Jesus Christ. So with all these questions that were asked today in this devotion, like, what has God whispered in your ear this week? Think of it about what has God been pushing you towards over the course of the last few months, and what can you do to take that momentum and keep it moving forward using the grace of Jesus. Another question here is, how will you tell others about your encounter with Jesus this week? Think of it as, how will you tell others about your encounter with Jesus throughout this pandemic? What has been something that has changed for you, and how have you been positively impacted by your relationship with Jesus? And if you don't have that relationship with Jesus, and you don't feel that relationship, you're not weird in any kind of way. It's very challenging. You have to work towards finding a relationship with Christ. But I would encourage you then to think about how this devotion talks about at the beginning of this week in New Orleans, the youth were asked to hear the whisper of God. They were asked to listen for the divine whisper in New Orleans. And so to end today, if you are struggling, I want you to think about where you can hear the divine whisper in the pandemic. Where you can hear the divine whisper within your family, within your friends, within your school, and all of your peers and your teachers. Where can you hear the whisper and put Jesus' call to action through faith in motion? Where can you do that today? So those are the things that I leave you with, and those are the things that will end with this Bible. I'm glad that you came along for these 5 devotions as we finish out the final 15 from this Bible. And for next week, we will be starting with another Bible that I got on a mission trip at the ELCA National Youth Gathering. There are 5 more devotions here, so we'll pick that up. But also don't forget that we will be back here with our Talk About It Friday video. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and get them to me, and we will include them in our video. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope this devotion was able to center yourself for an awesome way to finish out your week. And we will see you later this Friday. So see you later, everybody.